CMIS 3224. Web Designing and E-Commerce. Practical Sessions. CSS. Part 1. What is CSS? CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. External style sheets are stored in CSS files. CSS, syntax. A CSS rule set consists of a selector and a declaration block. The selector points to the HTML element you want to style. The declaration block contains one or more declarations separated by semicolons. Each declaration includes a CSS property name and a value, separated by a colon. Multiple CSS declarations are separated with semicolons, and declaration blocks are surrounded by curly braces. There are three ways of inserting a style sheet: external CSS, internal CSS, inline CSS. External CSS. With an external style sheet, you can change the look of an entire website by changing just one file. Each HTML page must include a reference to the external style sheet file inside the link element, inside the head section. An external style sheet can be written in any text editor and must be saved with a .css extension. The external .css file should not contain any HTML tags. Create a new file. Save the file. Mistyle.css. You can give any name you like. Add a heading and a paragraph. Let's add some styles to our web page. Add a background color. For the H1, add a color and a margin. Save the CSS file and refresh a web page. Nothing changed. Connect the CSS file. External styles are defined within the link element, inside the head section of an HTML page. Sublime Text automatically complete the line. Add CSS file name with CSS extension. In this situation, mistyle.css. Background color and the text color have changed. Add text color to paragraph. Internal CSS. An internal style sheet may be used if one single HTML page has a unique style. The internal style is defined inside the style element, inside the head section. We have a heading and a paragraph. Internal styles are defined within the style element, inside the head section of an HTML page. Add a background color. Add a color to heading. Add a color to paragraph. Inline CSS. An inline style may be used to apply a unique style for a single element. To use inline styles, add the style attribute to the relevant element. The style attribute can contain any CSS property. Add a heading and a paragraph. Inline styles are defined within the style attribute of the relevant element. H1 space style. Add a color. P space style. Add a color. Colors have changed. Add another style. Text alignment. Multiple style sheets. If some properties have been defined for the same selector element in different style sheets, the value from the last read style sheet will be used. Add an internal CSS. H1 color red. Paragraph color blue. Add an external CSS. H1 color green. Paragraph color black. It's show according to the external CSS. Because the code read from top to bottom. Let's change the order. Now it's show according to the external CSS. Cascading order. What style will be used when there is more than one style specified for an HTML element? All the styles in a page will cascade into a new virtual style sheet by the following rules, where number 1 has the highest priority. Inline style, inside an HTML element. External and internal style sheets, in the head section. Browser default. So, an inline style has the highest priority and will overwrite external and internal styles and browser defaults. CSS selectors. CSS selectors are used to find or select the HTML elements you want to style. CSS element selector. The element selector selects HTML elements based on the element name. Example, here, all P elements on the page will be center aligned with a red text color. Here we have 2 paragraphs and 2 headings. External CSS. Paragraph, text align center and color red. Add effect to the all P elements. Heading 2, text align right and color blue. Add effect to the all H2 elements. CSS ID selector. The ID selector uses the ID attribute of an HTML element to select a specific element. The ID of an element is unique within a page, so the ID selector is used to select one unique element. To select an element with a specific ID, write a hash character, followed by the ID of the element. Example, the CSS rule below will be applied to the HTML element with ID PARA1. Here we have 2 paragraphs. For the first paragraph, add an ID name para1. Style sheet. Hash para1. Text align center and color red. That's only effect to the specified paragraph with the ID. Remember that an ID name cannot start with a number. CSS class selector. The class selector selects HTML elements with a specific class attribute. To select elements with a specific class, write a period character followed by the class name. In this example, all HTML elements with class equals center will be red and center aligned. Here we have 2 paragraphs and 2 headings. One of them gets same class center. Center. Text align center and color red. 1 paragraph and a heading affected. So a class can use too many elements. Remember that a class name cannot start with a number. You can also specify that only specific HTML elements should be affected by a class. In this example, only P element with class center will be center aligned. Here we have a paragraphs and a headings with same class that affect to both. Add P before the dot. Now it's only effect to the P element. Try with H1. Now it's only effect to the H1 element. HTML elements can also refer to more than one class. In this example, the P element will be styled according to class center and to class large. We have 3 paragraphs. Class name col. Color red. Class name size. Font size 50 pixel. One st para class col. Second para class size. Change according to the classes. For the third para, add both classes. It changed the both color and size. CSS, Universal Selector. The Universal Selector star selects all HTML elements on the page. Example, the CSS rule below will affect every HTML element on the page. We have 3 paragraphs and a heading. To the second para, add a ID and third para, add a class. Star. Color red. It changed the all elements. CSS, Grouping Selector. The grouping selector selects all the HTML elements with the same style definitions. Look at the following CSS code, the H1, H2, and P elements have the same style definitions. It will be better to group the selectors to minimize the code. To group selectors, separate each selector with a comma. In this example, we have grouped the selectors from the code above. We have 2 types of headings and a paragraph. Each of these elements have same styles. In this situation, we can group them. Just use a comma and mention the elements. HTML div tag. The div tag defines a division or a section in an HTML document. The div tag is used as a container for HTML elements, which is then styled with CSS or manipulated with JavaScript. The div tag is easily styled by using the class or id attribute. Any sort of content can be put inside the div tag. By default, browsers always place a line break before and after the div element. And the body type div. Inside the div, add a paragraph and a heading. Copy and paste. Add different classes for the divs. My div 1. Color red. That affect the all elements inside the div. My div 2. Color blue. That affect the all elements inside the div. CSS colors. Colors are specified using predefined color names or RGB, hex, HSL, RGBA, HSLA values. RGB value. In CSS, a color can be specified as an RGB value using this formula. RGB red, green, blue. Each parameter, red, green, and blue, defines the intensity of the color between 0 and 255. For example, RGB 255, 0, 0 is displayed as red because red is set to its highest value, 255, and the others are set to 0. To display black, set all color parameters to 0, like this. RGB 0, 0, 0. To display white, set all color parameters to 255, like this. RGB 255, 255, 255. We have 6 heading. Each one display the RGB values in text. Let's add an inline style. Style. Background color. RGB value. Now you can see the color according to the value. Add values to other headings. Now you can see the different colors according to the values. RGBA value. RGBA color values are an extension of RGB color values with an alpha channel, which specifies the opacity for a color. An RGBA color value is specified with RGBA, red, green, blue, alpha. The alpha parameter is a number between 0, fully transparent, and 1, not transparent at all. We have 6 heading. Each one display the same color RGB value in text and another new value of alpha. Let's add an inline style. Style background color RGBA alpha 0. Nothing view. Alpha 0.2. View a title bit of color. Now you can see when the alpha value increasing color showing clearly. Hex value. In CSS, a color can be specified using a hexadecimal value in the form #RRGGBB, where RR, red, GG, green, and BB, blue, are hexadecimal values between 00 and FF, same as decimal 0 to 255. For example, #FF0000 is displayed as red because red is set to its highest value, FF, and the others are set to the lowest value, 00. We have 6 heading. Each one display the hex values in text. Let's add an inline style. Style background color #value. Now you can see the color according to the value. Add values to other headings. Now you can see the different colors according to the values. HSL value. In CSS, a color can be specified using hue, saturation, and lightness, HSL, in the form HSL, hue, saturation, lightness. Hue is a degree on the color wheel from 0 to 360. 0 is red, 120 is green, and 240 is blue. Saturation is a percentage value, 0% means a shade of gray, and 100% is the full color. Lightness is also a percentage, 0% is black, 50% is neither light or dark, 100% is white. We have 6 heading. Each one display the hex values in text. Let's add an inline style. Style background color HSL value. Now you can see the color according to the value. Add values to other headings. Now you can see the different colors according to the values. Saturation. Saturation can be described as the intensity of a color. 100% is pure color, no shades of gray. 50% is 50% gray, but you can still see the color. 0% is completely gray, you can no longer see the color. We have 6 heading. Each one display the HSL values in text. When the second percentage changing, it's change the color from pure to gray. See you in the next video.